I'm going to use this video to recap 3 key aspects of my CityLab Toolkit course: what I learned, how I learned it, and how I will continue to learn and apply what I know in my career moving forward. So let's get started. First, what I've learned. From the CityLab Toolkit class, I learned 3 impactful lessons that I will keep with me as I continue my work both in the public and private sector. First is that gentrification is not revitalization. Before beginning the CityLab course, I ignorantly believed that the two terms were inseparable. That when you see a neighborhood going from a rundown area to a newly developed area, it was impossible to keep the current community intact, and it would require the dislocation of the current population to make the area quote unquote nice again. However, from interviews with key community leaders, I've learned that this is simply not true. It's entirely possible to truly revitalize an area. It just takes time. That's actually my second learning. Before the course, I definitely looked at areas with abandoned buildings and high crime and thought the problem is that no one's doing anything. Just bulldoze the place and we can start fresh. I never thought long enough to realize that if buildings were flattened to make way for the new and the better, it would mean that citizens who suffered through the community's hardest challenges would not have the opportunity to stay and see the benefits of its redevelopment. To ensure that all community stakeholders can benefit from the redevelopment of an area, it takes the input of all the stakeholders, and it takes time for the areas to develop in such a way that current residents are not ousted by quick construction and inflating costs of living. Finally, I learned the hard truth that you can't simply construct a new neighborhood. You can use millions of dollars to redevelop an area with grocery stores, space for local business, parks, social services, but unless all stakeholders are consulted before and throughout the development process, the revitalization of the area will most likely become gentrified due to the nature of development projects. The next section is about how I learned during the CityLab Toolkit. Throughout the CityLab Toolkit course, I learned about a great deal of urban development challenges and successes through 2 main mediums: my weekly urban immersion experiences and in-person interviews. The walks I took in all 5 CityLab neighborhoods were one of the most profound learning experiences I've had at Cary so far. It was amazing to see the concepts I was reading about come to life in each of the communities I visited. Additionally, I learned an immense deal through primary interviews with community leaders and innovators. It was eye-opening to learn that while these communities have their challenges, there are key stakeholders who are constantly fighting for their improvement. In this last section, I want to describe how I plan to apply and continue my learning in the future. The lessons I've learned about the 5 key CityLab neighborhoods are ones that I'll never forget. If I continue my work in the nonprofit or public sector, these lessons will easily be applied and give me a deeper empathy for those I'm seeking to serve within similar communities. However, even in the public sector, I will keep these lessons in mind, knowing that business is such an important stakeholder group in the revitalization of neighborhoods across the world. In the future, now understanding the importance of active community engagement, I will seek to continue my learning about any community I live in by joining my own community association and try to give a voice to those in need.